So because, I don't want to be on camera this entire meeting, and it's going to be a pole in the way. Okay, Heidi, I think Randy said we're good. Whenever you're ready.
We're ready? All right. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order at 9:02. And pledge allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, the republic for
which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for
Roll call. Deomers?
Nickel here.
And Allers.
On Thomas.
Chelsea O'Reilly, Public Works Director, and I did receive note from Mr. Tom Gressman and Mr. John Goggin requesting an excused absence for this meeting.
Good. We need approval of the minutes from the April 20th meeting.
A second.
All in favor? Aye. Do we have any public comment?
Okay, give me just a second. Let me get all of the fun technology ready. Suzanne, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, we are ready for you. Let me make sure you're going to play the video first, and then just a couple housekeeping things for the committee. Mike, I know you're super soft-spoken, so if you have any questions, make sure you just speak loud, please. Same thing with you, Dawn. Same thing with the council member. It's loud coming this way, but her hearing us, it's a little more difficult, so please just speak up. All right, Suzanne, whenever you're ready.
Okay, well, hello. Let's see. I could put my video on so you can see me. Morning. Hello. Thank you for giving this opportunity to present to you today. We're here to share some information and request some feedback about the Estero Boulevard lighting project. We've held 2 meetings with a larger stakeholder group, and for both meetings, the content has been pretty high-level general information. In fact, the first stakeholder meeting was like, hi, here we are. We have a lighting project with the engineers. Let's introduce ourselves and talk about what we'd like to accomplish with this lighting project. And the answers were in general that we want a lighting system for Estero Boulevard that meets all the requirements for people and sea turtles during the entire year. And at the second stakeholder meeting, there was a lot more discussion about street lighting, the reasons for lighting, and a little bit about Fort Myers Beach accident history. We had conversations about research on the effect of light color on visibility, human health, and on wildlife, in particular, of course, nesting sea turtles and their hatchlings. We touched on glare, discussed Lee County criteria, and the Fish and Wildlife criteria for lighting. It was about an hour of presentation content for that second stakeholder meeting, followed by about an hour of discussion. We'd like to start today by playing you the 6-minute video that began the second stakeholder meeting, because it introduces the project, it introduces who we are, and outlines the content that was presented at that stakeholder meeting. After the video today, we're not going to present the hour of lighting information. So in the video, when it says that Rick will discuss why we light, and Ed will discuss accidents, and Joe will talk about light color and effect on turtles, we're not going to do that today. But that outline in the video gives you a sense of what was covered there, and since it was a public meeting, that recording is available. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and play the video to optimize video clip. Share screen 1, start the share. And Chelsea, you see the black screen?
Yes, ma'am.
For the video? All right, here we go. The town of Fort Myers Beach has begun a project to develop plans and specifications for construction of a street lighting system for Estero Boulevard. The Estero Boulevard lighting project limits are from Bowditch Point at the north end, all the way down to the south end of the island at the intersection of Estrelita Drive. About 6 miles overall. If you find Estero Boulevard on Lee County's GIS website called Find My Road, it shows who maintains the road. Roads shown in yellow are maintained by the town of Fort Myers Beach. That includes Estero Boulevard north of the intersection of San Carlos Boulevard. And you can see that all the side streets are also yellow, being maintained by the town. Roads shown in red are state maintained. For example, this portion of San Carlos Boulevard that heads toward the Matanzas Pass Bridge is FDOT maintained. Roads in blue are Lee County roads. The entire length of Estero Boulevard south of San Carlos Boulevard is owned and maintained by Lee County. If you've driven down Estero Boulevard lately, first of all, you've seen a lot of construction. That construction is a major Estero Boulevard improvement project in progress that includes road widening, sidewalks, center turn lanes, drainage, and utility improvements. You can read more about this project at the website refreshfmbeach.com. Driving down Estero Boulevard, you also see that there's existing lighting almost everywhere along the entire length of the island. You might be wondering why there's a need at all for an Estero Boulevard lighting project. The most important reasons we need to look at lighting now are to meet design criteria for safety of the improved Estero Boulevard, update obsolete technology, mitigate accidents, and to meet the needs of nesting sea turtles and their hatchlings. The existing lighting layout was not developed to light the new, wider Estero Boulevard. The layout needs to be reviewed and updated to meet lighting criteria for the new road. The existing lighting system is high-pressure sodium lights, a technology which is becoming obsolete and expensive and replaced by more energy-efficient LED lights. A very important reason for looking at lighting is the history of nighttime accidents along Estero Boulevard, including bicycle crashes and pedestrian fatalities. We can't always control people's behaviors. Lighting can do a lot to improve safety and reduce the occurrence of nighttime accidents. So far, the goals of improving safety and energy efficiency are common, ordinary goals of any street lighting project. But Estero Island has a twist. It is, of course, right now, most of the Estero Boulevard lights are turned off, completely off, because they could distract nesting activities and the hatchling's nighttime journey toward the surf. Every inch of the Gulf Side beach could be an attractive spot for a sea turtle nest, and therefore no part of Estero Boulevard is exempt from turtle considerations for its lighting design. Lights that are turned off, as they are now, are doing nothing for safety or visibility. There are ways we can provide lighting during the nesting season. The design priority of the Estero Boulevard lighting project is to find a solution that provides lighting for safety during the entire year, including turtle and non-turtle seasons. Being turtle safe and people safe are not mutually exclusive. To summarize, the reasons we're looking at lighting now are to address design safety criteria for the improved Estero Boulevard, update the technology to more energy efficient lights, mitigate occurrences of nighttime crashes, to provide all this while accommodating the important needs of the nesting sea turtles and their hatchlings. Four of us are presenting different aspects of the design considerations for you today. First, Rick Kaufman will talk in general about why we light and how lighting can affect safety, security, and community value. We'll also touch on the topic of light color and what current research says about the effect of exposure to different colors of artificial light on human health. Ed Kramer will talk about the accident reports and statistics along Estero Boulevard and how attention to lighting in specific areas can improve safety. And Rick will come back and describe the transportation engineering safety design and lighting requirements of Lee County and the town of Fort Myers Beach. Hancock will take a few minutes to talk about how lighting affects sea turtles, the requirements set out by the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission so that any lighting proposed will have the least possible effect on turtle activities. Joe is a scuba diver, so if you see any underwater photos of sea turtles in his presentation, he took them himself. We all have profiles on LinkedIn if you want to know more about our past projects with lighting in turtle-sensitive areas and the lighting industry in general. It's all up there. We've met Katie Kaufman, who's helping us keep everything and everybody organized. I'm Suzanne Lansford, and I'm the engineer of record for this project. That concludes my part of today's presentation. Thank you all so much for being here. Okay, are we still up, Chelsea?
Yep, you're here.
Okay, so we were doing a technical check yesterday with the town staff to make sure we could all log in and attend remotely, and we wanted to invite advisory committee thoughts on what you feel are important, the most important aspects of lighting. And when we were finished, or when I thought we were finished, the staff mentioned, they said, you know, the advisory committees, that's you all out there, will be very eager to hear your recommendations on lighting. By the way, what are your recommendations? So I want to point out now that the reason they ask what our recommendations are is because they don't know what our recommendations are. And the reason they don't know is that the town staff and council have been silent on any preferences they might have about the type of lighting, the color of lighting, the source of controls, any aspect of the future Estero Boulevard lighting design. They're counting on us as specialized lighting consultants, together with the stakeholders and you, the advisory groups, to come up with the right lighting for the town. And that's why we're here. Our first recommendation is easy, and it's not really a recommendation, it's a non-negotiable aspect of any new lighting system. You probably already know it at Fort Myers Beach, including streetlights. If there's any debate to this, it wouldn't matter because we have to do it, and it's this. No new outdoor light source shall be visible from any part of the beach, and that includes streetlights, period. Okay, so what if it's an amber light source? Is that okay to be seen from the beach? No, it's not okay. So that means we have to pay attention to the placement and shielding of every light to make sure that no light source is visible from any part of the beach. And this is to comply with the Fish and Wildlife lighting guidance and the lighting ordinance of the town of Fort Myers Beach. Chelsea, do they have the handouts?
I believe they will have it in your packets right in front of you, yes?
Okay,
Yes,
let's
they
turn
do.
to the handout. Thank you. So on the first page of the handout, we just first wanted to clarify some items of the project scope, what's in and what's out. You can see on the first page, section 2, what's in and out of scope. What's in scope, street lighting designed for Estero Boulevard. That includes north of San Carlos, which is town-owned, south of Crescent, which is county-owned. Paying special attention to lighting at the 45 crosswalks. We're making recommendations, not detailed design, but recommendations for the public side streets, not the private side streets. Okay, on page 2, light level considerations. This is the county's design criteria that applies to Estero Boulevard. Estero Boulevard is a minor arterial along most of the island. And the requirements for minor arterials in Lee County is 1-foot candle. That is the county's design criteria for light level that applies to Estero. Page 3, light color considerations. Okay, so this was a very lively topic at the second stakeholder meeting. And it was lively in part because people have heard about and are concerned about the American Medical Association's 2016 recommendation about limiting light color temperature to 3000 Kelvin, which is a pretty warm yellow color. At the stakeholder meeting, we talked about how that metric that the AMA used to make the correlation to effects on human health does not apply to street lights. It applies to other kinds of lights, but not street lights, because the dose rate, exposure duration from street lights doesn't meet the thresholds melatonin suppression, especially compared to other sources like household lighting and TVs and phones and computers, which deliver broad spectrum light with white light at an intensity and duration that's much higher than what you could ever get from streetlights. So, of course, we can't make a rebuttal to the AMA statement like that without citing substantial supporting references, and we did, but here's the trouble. We cited what we know is the most current body of work in progress, and because it's in progress, it means that it will be available to the public in a few months. That caused some questions, mainly like, can you cite a reference that we can see? And the answer is yes, absolutely. There's several, and we're preparing written responses to all the stakeholder questions, which will be available to everyone hopefully next week. And it will include NEMA and Illuminating Engineering Society citations responding to the AMA statement. So I said all that to say this. That's why we don't see human melatonin suppression as a light color consideration for streetlights on page 3 of your handout. But we do have some other considerations listed there. We talk about a higher color temperature, which is, you know what, I meant to show a slide about color temperature. When we talk about color temperature, the lower color temperatures in the dark amber red region, medium color temperature around 3,000 Kelvin is yellowish, and the best visibility for people happens at 3,500 and 4,000 Kelvin. So that's the range that we're talking about for color temperature. The higher color temperatures, it means better visibility, which could reduce crashes. It also means more sky glow, which could distract turtles. It also means better energy efficiency. And we prepared an example on page 3 of the comparative energy cost between HPS, 4000K LED and amber LEDs. And each row in the example delivers roughly the same amount of lighting for a length of roadway similar to Estero Boulevard. That is to say, if we use the most commonly available amber LED streetlight to design to Lee County standards, the energy cost is going to be almost double the equivalent high pressure sodium design for Estero. And don't worry, we're not going to recommend high pressure sodium. This is just an example of the increased energy cost of amber over broader spectrum light. So on page 4, here's where we're asking for your input. On pages 4 and 5, we've listed aspects of light color, and we want you to rate them from 1 to 10, with 1 being the most important, each aspect of color temperature. I don't want to tell you how to tell us what's important. If everything is a 10 to you, then put a 10 for everything, but it would go further to inform us of your thoughts if you would vary the priorities to the ratings. There is an error on page 5. Page 5. Friendly amber, the first item says existing side street color. That's a copy-paste error. Turtle friendly amber is not the existing side street color, so just disregard that row. Regarding the color, we're talking to a couple of manufacturers. Configure a luminaire with dual colors and one amber, on one luminaire, amber and not amber, in the same luminaire. Network switchable according to the turtle nesting or non-nesting season, or according to changing physical conditions. It's not new technology, it's a special application of existing technology, and it's pretty common for manufacturers to create special configurations of the products for customers like the town, and that's what we're talking about. The challenge of this, of course, is we want FWC to approve the products, and we want to encourage FPL to approve the products, and we want you to approve the products. So we're asking for some manufacturer samples that we can install in Fort Myers Beach so that you can see it and observe the color switching. So we've not yet developed a design for this because we want to be confident of the reasonable time frame for implementation, which is important. That's what we're thinking about right now. And so right now, our recommendation for color is to continue investigating the dual source option. Moving ahead to page 6, second to the last box is about the side streets. As we mentioned, detailed lighting design for side streets is outside of our scope, but we are being asked to provide recommendations for side streets, and we wouldn't want to do that without your input. from the advisory committees, and so that's what that box is for. At the moment, our general recommendation for side streets is to do something to provide better uniformity instead of a patchwork of light dark areas, which has been expressed as a concern. Page 6, section 5, lighting design extents. So in the lighting design, we have a choice as to how much of the roadway we choose to light. And this illustration on page 6 is taken from the refreshfmbeach.com website that describes the Estero Boulevard Improvement Project. And we put it here because with this illustration, you can visualize what it would look like to provide lighting for just the road with the cutoff lighting at the curb, or the road and the sidewalk, or lighting the road and the sidewalk up to the buildings, which is considered by some to be a security enhancement. It's sometimes called centerline to keyhole lighting, which I think is a pretty visual description. We know that lighting both the street and sidewalk can give drivers more time to notice and respond to pedestrians who might want to step out into the street. We're not seeing a lot of desire to light areas off the street and the sidewalk. So our recommendation for lighting extents would be to light the street and the sidewalk with a cutoff at the back of the sidewalk without lighting the property behind the sidewalk. But we still want you to weigh in, and that's what the form is for on page 7. And that's the end. Page 8 is for anything that we forgot to ask that you want to say about lighting. Put it on page 8. We have a lot more material, but we're not going to present it today. We presented it at the stakeholder meeting, and we don't want to take another hour and a half of your time. So we'll just leave the presentation at that, invite your feedback and questions at this time.
Suzanne, Ann Allers, I heard you mention network switchable, but I haven't heard anything about network dimmable. Is that something that your consulting firm is looking at as a potential for a solution? I can tell you I'm not a huge fan of turning any lights off.
Yes. Okay. The question is, are we looking at, he heard about network switchable, but he didn't hear us talk about network dimmable. And are we considering that as an option? Joe, are you at the airport?
Hotel.
So, okay, gotcha. It's definitely an option. We're not looking at it specifically right now as a design feature, but as a part of a network control, that would be definitely something that we could consider. Joe, that was kind of a rambling answer I just gave. The question was about network.
Yeah, I got that, and yes, I would have rambled a little bit to start with too.
Okay.
Dimming is there, it is viable technology to a point. If we go with an FPL supplied solution, dimming will be off the table. FPL is not doing dimming. There are issues within the state of Florida. There is no legislative protection for dimming yet in the state of Florida. So right now, it would be a do it at your own risk proposal. It is doable, it's on the table, but it's going to take some deep discussion to bring dimming on. Dimming during turtle season won't be really viable for the amber lights. The dimming would only have to do with the white lights that were in or out of turtle season. And that would have to depend on traffic flow. It is on our list though.
So are there any fixture options out there that offer warm dimming?
For what? Warm dimming?
Warm dimming for commercial purposes.
Are you talking about being able to dim warm lighting?
Yeah, say from 4,000 Kelvin down to 3,000 Kelvin.
Yeah. Dimming is dimming. As long as you have a dimmable driver, there's two technologies out there, 0 to 10 volt dimming and dolly dimming. As long as the LED driver is capable of dimming, you can dim the fixture regardless of the color temperature. Now, the current HID that's out there, the sodium, is for all intents and purposes not dimmable. So we do have to change the LED for dimming, but we also need to change the LED for a number of other reasons.
Oh, I think the question was about changing the color temperature with controls. Was that the question?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I was asking.
Oh, okay, not dimming, color changing. Okay. It is, and I don't know of anybody doing 3,000, 4,000 color changing. Most of the color changing is done in the commercial arena. So the grocery store, I like the apples, they punch up the red, they want to sell blue dresses, they punch up the blue.
Yep, swimming pool lights.
I have not seen anything, exactly, no discussions even on changing 3 to 4. And I don't know what the advantage would be changing 3 to 4 on the fly.
Well, I guess for me, it would be a safety issue. You could still alleviate the turtle situation when you need to. Should there be a life safety issue, you can quickly change it to make that area bright. It would be my consideration. I mean, and you had mentioned.
I'm sorry, but FWC does not recognize 3,000. As far as they're concerned, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 are all the same. In order to get into that turtle-friendly zone, you need to get down into those orange and reds, and that would not be doable on the fly. You have to get those chips specifically made and then.
Suzanne had mentioned at the beginning that the focus was going to be to shield the entire beach from any sort of light source. Is that correct, Suzanne?
We have to do that. It's a requirement.
I don't want to monopolize.
To phrase that a little bit differently, the lights cannot be seen from the beach.
Right.
So if there's a building already in the way, no shielding is required. So you actually have to walk the beach. But it's not just about, the point source is number one to them, but it's also any light that can work its way around. From FWC standpoint, if you can't see the light from the beach, it doesn't matter 3,000 or 4,000. If you can see the light from the beach, you have to shield the point source, and you need to be in the turtle-friendly range.
The shielding technology there, you could shield lights on Estero Boulevard shining on the beach?
Yeah.
So, but even if we shield, FWC thinks we need to change the range of lighting down to turtle-friendly colors.
No, sir. If it can't be seen from the beach, FWC is out of the picture.
Okay.
It's only when it can be seen from the beach. So typically, if it can be seen from the beach, what you do is you shield the point source of the light, and you go to amber. To shield completely the light, you would have to have like a building in the way. So if you can see the point source, you shield the point source, and then if there's any kind of light coming down, it needs to be in the turtle-friendly range.
When you say coming down, you mean coming down on the roadway?
Yes, sir. You can't actually, go ahead.
I guess that was my question. Can you use higher intensity light, a white light, and shield it so that it can't be seen from the beach, and that would still not be satisfactory because of reflection or because of the color of the light at the roadway itself, or?
So I think where we're getting lost, I'll try and be a little more specific. There's a point source and there's the column of light coming down. you have to shield the point source. If you can see the light fixture, you shield the point source of the light. But there is still that column of light coming down that you can see from the beach. And yeah, it reflects off the roadway, it reflects off the pole, reflects off the buildings. So if you can see that column of light, then that needs to be in the turtle-friendly spectrum.
Thank you.
To Joe's earlier point on color changing technology. The technology exists. It's been deployed in indoor lighting, primarily office lighting. It hasn't, to my knowledge, been deployed in street lighting yet.
And me too. And the other thing with that, Rick, is most likely what they're going to do is punch up the red. And if you don't dial down the blue, you still have the same energy available.
That's correct.
Yeah, if I were building that, I would have the blues at max all the time and dial everything around them.
You had mentioned that you're working with some companies about the dual color source and the switching between the two. You had also mentioned that technology is there, it's just maybe not regulated completely yet in the state of Florida. You know, for me, it's a major focus that we create a solution that's not just to fix what we have now, but to carry us into the future so that 10 years from now, we're not dealing with the same issue, that there's a newer technology out there that we didn't take advantage of at the beginning, and now we're behind the 8 ball again.
Yes, sir. One thing, if we go with a technology that can switch, then we are laying the foundation. If you can switch, you can dim. Switching is just the ultimate dimming, right? 100% and 0%, not using the intermediate values. So if we go down that path, we are laying the foundation to be able to do future dimming. There's two sides of that. One is legislative protection. So you dim and there's an action at 2 a.m., you have no protection. The other thing is dimming standards. And Rick is actually, is it ASHTO or DOE you're working with, Rick, on being able to set standards for the night dimming?
Actually, Federal Highway Administration has a guide out on that. And then we're looking at putting that into RPA.
Only other question I have is, I presume you have looked at other barrier islands who are facing similar issues and what they are doing, what solutions they're using, and is that going to be incorporated in your study, or is there site visits in those areas, or exactly what are you doing there?
Yes and no. We haven't visited the other barrier islands. We are aware of some of the solutions that they are looking at. And yes, that information will definitely be part of our final report and will inform our recommendations going forward.
Questions? Suzanne, can you just repeat what it is you expect of this committee with regards to the handout, please?
I would like you to fill out the handouts and the empty boxes. Put a rating if you feel a strong rating between, like, if number one is this one particular item is really important to you, either as a pro or a con. Write your comments however you feel, whatever moves you to say about lighting in each one of these areas. And then, if I may, Chelsea, ask them to give it to you, and you will get that information to me somehow.
Yes, and then Suzanne, real quick, I do have the town manager here. He would like to speak for just a second.
Okay.
So I just wanted to reiterate a point that was mentioned twice during the consultant team's comments, but I want to be sure it is impactful to all of you and perhaps people who are watching at home. That is that if we do not meet state guidelines for safety lighting, okay, and I'm talking about potential traffic accidents. Now, the turtle lighting is equally as important, but for 1 second, I'm going to concentrate on the safety lighting. This is the Public Safety Committee, after all. But anyway, what I think the consultants were saying, and I want to make sure it hits home, is that if we deviate any way from the state standards, any and all accidents that occur on Astoria Boulevard, we will be accused of causing them by not having the state required lighting. So I would suspect that Lee County, as the owner of the road, would not agree to that. And I suspect that that would not be a very popular policy position to take from the standpoint of losing our protection afforded governments by the state by adhering to things like the FDOT Green Book and other state regulations as it pertains to roadway safety. So we can, of course, do something different and try to convince Lee County to go along with us, but it would be at substantial risk, and I don't know if that's a path that people would like to go down or not. So I just want to make sure that that point and all the comments that were made wasn't lost.
All right, any final comments, any questions for consultant? None. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, team.
Thank you.
The same presentation will be given to the Marine Resources Task Force Committee. I believe it's tomorrow afternoon.
Yes. Can we terminate the Zoom?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much,
Thank
everybody.
you, Chelsea.
Thank
you, everybody.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Have a good day.
I ask, Roger, I have a question. Obviously, you're outlining that there are ramifications to decisions that are made by the town regarding lighting and public safety aspect. Are there any legal ramifications to the town regarding decisions made as it relates to FWC? In other words, I see the legal jeopardy and the financial liability associated with public safety issues. What about the other side? Is there the same kind of issues, and then we have to strike a balance of some sort?
Well, yes. I mean, the lighting issues as it pertains to the sea turtles are regulations carry the same weight, although I guess the frequency of risk would be increased with respect to vehicles, since there's a lot more of those. But the issue that we and a lot of the other communities face is that you have two state agencies with differing priorities. Because everything that's been going on in the state government, from hurricanes to COVID, if these were more normal times, I would think, our beach community and other beach communities would have appealed to the governor to get these two state agencies and try to find some common ground. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened. So we're sort of forging ahead, attempting to find that common ground to the extent that we can. And we have, we're not trying to diminish one priority over the other. We think they're both very, very important. So when we, and this council supported us in getting consultants who do this type of stuff, we understood that we were going to have to sort of break some new ground. Because obviously if there was a product at Lowe's or Home Depot, we would have just bought it. So we realized we're going to have to break some new ground here. And breaking new ground, there's a couple of things associated with that. A, can you manufacture the thing? And I think consultants indicated that that's doable. But then the second thing is that once you manufacture it, there are three tests. The environmental arm of the state has to approve it. The roadway safety arm of the state has to approve it. And potentially, if we're using FP&L as our provider, they would have to approve it. So it's not just, well, you know, some guy in a lab coat putting it together. There's that, and then of course, I guess there's maybe even a fourth, and that is putting it up at some locations and see if the community, you know, likes it too. So this is not going to be a sprint. You know, this is going to be a sort of a long distance run marathon type of thing to get us to where we want to be. But to Councilor Aller's point, you know, taking these steps will position us to be able to tolerate the next rewrite of the state roadway safety code and the next rewrite of the federal friendly lighting code, which inevitably will happen. Will happen long before the poles and mast arms, you know, deteriorate and have to be replaced. So we need to be prepared for that. And I know people are anxious because this has been sort of a discussion point in the town for a long time. But I think that with your help, we're approaching this from a standpoint of developing a long-lasting solution that will hit as many points as we possibly can. Will we be able to hit them all? Probably not. But the places where we really don't want to compromise is on the roadway lighting standards to give us the protection for accidents, and to creating lighting scenarios that increase disorientations. Those are sort of our two priorities. We have other priorities within that, but I think we have to remember those are the two overriding ones. The third one may very well be the point that Dan Allers mentioned earlier, and that is adaptability going forward should regulations change. And of course, there are probably numerous others that I'm not mentioning. So I think we're on a good path. As Chelsea said, we'll be at the Marine Resources Committee tomorrow. We'll be giving a similar survey to this to fill out as well. The design team will go back and start working on narrowing the parameters, sort of a funnel approach. You start wide and you get narrower and narrower. I'll be checking back in with you all periodically, as well as with the Marine Resources Task Force. And hopefully when we get to the bottom of the funnel, we'll have a solution that meets as many possible, you know, priorities as we can, as soon as we can. Anything else I can answer for anybody? Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, Roger.
All right. So you have the handout. Murph is going to be, or has been given the exact same handout, which again, they'll be given the same presentation tomorrow. Mike Childs partook in the stakeholder meetings. So this is, again, more input that the consultant is looking for. Their contract, it has to be done by September 30th, so that's the end of our fiscal year. They're going to be going to Town Council on June 7th to give a presentation to them. But as you heard, and as Roger mentioned, they're trying to take the funnel approach and narrow down the options. So if you could fill out this by the end of the week, and either drop it off or scan it and email it to me, I can get that over to the consultant, and then they can compile all of the responses. Else on that topic?
Ask Mike if he had a comment since you were on that committee.
No, I'm just saying, I think it'd be good for us to go through this now and make sure we got everything that we understand that the game is.
So now, as an alternative, and I did speak to Mr. Goggin, if you all wish to call a special meeting, maybe to go home, review this, provide your comments, and then come back, we can do a special meeting by the end of, like, in between now and it'd be next week. Come back and formulate all that together, or you can go through it right now. This is, I mean, we have this chambers, as long as you guys need it, so it's up to you.
What does everyone feel they want to do?
We can talk about it now. If Mike can lead us through it, since he's been on that committee and knows probably more about what's happening there.
Everyone okay with that, or? Okay. Lead us through, Mike.
Well, the, 4,000K increased sky glow. Chelsea was in the meeting.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, no, it's okay. No, go ahead, please.
Scans of turtle disorientation, best color rendition, best visibility, energy use.
I have a question, and you can just answer this. Okay, so the 4,000K, basically, based on what Roger said, we have to follow, obviously, the state or the county guidelines. Which ones are, is that something, one of these we need to note, like hypothetically, one of them doesn't fall into it, that's number one. And on this, they were talking about shielding the light. And this 4,000K where it's the best visibility for, pedestrians, accidents, things like that. If they shield the light, does that solve 1 and 2, increase sky glow and increase turtle light or not? So you have to answer that. I don't know.
I mean, my thing is, I don't know if, building the light is gonna fix everything.
Well, they talked about that shaft of light color coming down.
I don't think it's gonna fix everything, so. I mean, I've shielded plenty of lights, the linemen. It works, sometimes it doesn't.
Has FP&L ever dealt with using the light, not just shielding it, but putting a diffuser in there to soften the light?
Yeah, we have them, I think, but my thing is we normally either turn them off or on or shield. And we have, so there's a diffuser light. How do we want to go about this?
I mean, are we supposed to do this individually, or are we supposed to hand it in as a group?
Either or.
Either or?
Well, that's why I was suggesting if you guys took it home, filled it out, and we could call a special meeting maybe next week and just have this as the only item on the agenda. And in the interim, compile, and then you guys put it all together and kind of get the average.
And maybe John will be here for that then.
Well, and I know he said that he'll be listening to the meeting, and he's already got the handout, so he'll be listening to this meeting after.
Is a better idea, because some of this you have to digest and think about.
Right, and think about it, yeah, and I think we'd be wasting too much time.
Call. I have no problem. What I'll do is we can, if at the end of this meeting, we can try to pick a day next week and just have this as a sole item, and I can put out an agenda towards the latter of next week. Have it a week in advance, and run through it real quick. If that's how the committee wants to.
If I watch the YouTube video of their whole presentation answering all those questions, which I did some of it and then it just got long, will that answer, they start going through the pros and cons themselves, and for each one, this is what this is going to do, and this is why we chose this, and then does it go through each one so we can listen and say, all right, that's more important to me, that one's not important to me, or are they just given the facts? There's no recommendations at this point.
There's been no recommendations to date. This is more looking of the committee's opinion. This is your
I
opinion.
had a big problem. The outside people had a big problem with the towns that they were as comparatives. I mean, on the West Coast, Seattle and so forth.
Iowa. Okay. I guess it's hard for me. I mean, I can tell you what I think is important, But if I think all this stuff is important, then it comes back and they go, well, that doesn't follow the guidelines for Lee County or for the state, then it's a moot point. So I kind of want to know, gotta at least be this, or all of these fit in. Don't even worry about that.
I would say if they put it on the paper, or it's still on the table.
Okay.
It wouldn't give you something that they've already checked off the list.
Okay.
That'd be a waste of their time and your time.
To me, it appears they're trying to steer you to find out what's more important to you. As Roger had mentioned, I think Mike knows finding the exact solution is probably not out there to make the turtle friendly happy, as well as the public safety. So I think that they're trying to figure out where you are as far as what's more important to you. That's just my guess based on how I read this. I could be completely wrong. Mike, you probably could opine on
I
this too,
agree
but
with you.
I think they're trying to figure out which is more important, because that's going to skew what they recommend, is kind of how I'm taking what I see.
They make you guys do this?
Well, I can tell you how we did this when I was back on Port Cab, when we were going through our stuff, is we had a similar thing to this, and we spent the time to rate it ourselves, and then we got together and made a collective agreement on, yes, some people moved up, some people moved down, but that way it was one voice when it was brought forward to council and for recommendation. This is what, as a committee, we think is important. So we did it individually, then we came back and discussed it collectively, and that was one voice then that went forward.
And I think we should have a special meeting. We should go through it. Not today. Read all through, write our notes down, and meet next week.
Take some time to digest it, and then you can always reach out to me if you have questions, and I can relay it on to the consultant if you have further questions on a certain item. I can get some clarification. Same will be extended to the Marine Services Task Force.
Does anybody have any more questions on the lighting stuff? No? Okay. Chelsea, do you have the code blue quotes?
I am still working on that. I apologize, we're in the middle of doing the preliminary budget, so I did reach back out to the vendor trying to get an update, and I think they've gone silent on me, so I think I need to find a different vendor at this point.
Okay.
I have reached out multiple times, so.
Okay. MPO updates?
That was, John asked to put that on because Mr. Gressman attends on the Public Safety Committee's behalf. He's not here, we can skip over that one.
All right. Sidewalk markings and bike signage.
The wrong way ones were placed or were installed last week. I don't know if you've seen those out there. Kind of hard to miss. They're red, bright red and black. And then sidewalk markings, I think that was our local question with the council and county, I believe. Is that what we were asking for? I'm not privy to where that stands. I don't know.
I think the memory serves me that this was the discussions begun at all about a potential interlocal agreement with the county to be able to put sidewalk markings and what they would be okay with and what they wouldn't be okay with.
I'm not privy to that conversation. I haven't been a part of that conversation if it has occurred. I can't give an update to that. I'm sorry.
Okay. Has everybody seen the little signs?
Not yet.
One, actually right here in front of the Old Tops property. So we're heading south. You'll see it on the left-hand side because you would be riding in the wrong direction. We're on the backs of the signs that say pedestrians and bicyclists.
Bells.
We are working on, I got one quote, but it was really high. We're going back and trying to find another vendor. Actually, if Randy's in there and he's listening, he'll hopefully bring me the bells. They did send us some free samples. I know the concern was one ding compared to the multiple dings. So we did get some samples, which, not listening, I'll go grab them. But to that point, One of the things that I wanted to bring up is we are in the middle of budget, and I know that there was some question regarding the bicycle lights and these bells for next year. If this committee has any requests to put on the council budget add-on list, I need to know that like now. I was listening. Here's one of the, I learned my lesson, okay. Maybe. Oh, wrong way, maybe. There's that one. No. So, and then of course they have, like, you can customize the tops of them. But we were trying to stay within a certain budget, same as we did for the lights, but I didn't know if there was a preference, color or customization. I think we were just going to put the town logo on it, but I know, like I said, the comment was to have the multiple dings instead of the singular ding. So if this is kind of what you guys are thinking, then we'll run with it.
Sounds good to me.
They
Yes,
seem-
yes is the answer. Okay.
They both seem workable, right?
Personally, they felt a little flimsy, but I mean, you guys can check them out yourself. We were looking into them, just at different options. This company was willing to send us a couple examples.
I don't know how long it'll last.
Yeah. That was my thought too.
Nobody's ringing them?
Don't hold the exterior. I learned that. I'm like, it's not working. I'm like, oh, that's why, because I'm holding it.
Go with the black one.
I mean, what is the price of them? What are we looking at for a price of them?
Well, we tried to do it based on, like, if they gave a break based on quantity, but we're trying to keep it within the same budget. I'll have to talk to Randy after the fact and see how many we can get. Those were the pricey ones, so that's why we were trying to look for an alternative, a different vendor. But if that's the concept that the committee likes with the multiple dings, then that's something we'll continue moving with. If not, we can order a small amount of those. I think last time we tried to order like 200 sets of lights, and we were trying to do something comparable to that. But the price of those, it was a little pricey.
Anybody making a digital?
Didn't
Makes
even
the
think,
same noise, but you just push a button and it goes ding ding.
didn't even think of that. That's a good. Our cell
How's it go
phone.
again?
What was the sound? Ding ding.
Ding ding.
Ding, ding. We'll look. So,
It just, kind of like the lights are that way, you know,
Yeah.
they have a battery source of, and they operate.
good point.
Electronic bell
We'll look into
would
that.
be,
So we're working on it. We're trying to get it, we've made some headway with it. As you can see, if this is, if you guys are just like, nope, we're good, we'll just get as many as we can based on the budget, we can do that. If not, we'll look into maybe a potential alternative and try to get more. And then, of course, if you guys want to put money in next year, request town council, we can do that too.
I guess if we can get more,
Get a bigger bang for your buck.
right.
If the intent was to just get them, and have them, for a of them, something like that.
You guys think?
$1,000 of them.
if there's a digital version, I don't know what it would take for you to look into that before we made a final on the mechanical version.
Well, give us until your meeting next week. I'll have Randy look into it a little bit more and try to give you an answer next week
Okay, perfect.
with everybody.
LCSO meeting.
Right, Chelsea and I met with Captain Valor and
Ferreira.
and discussed the whole concept of having them attend our meetings, discuss with us what's going on the island in terms of time. They didn't feel it would be in our best interest and that it would work well for our committee to, thank you, Charles, for us to try and get a report and conduct our own crime analysis on that report. They said number one, the reports have to be accessed from that agency because of it's a large agency and they have procedures in a particular way, and they had nothing to do with that there at the West Division. You have to go downtown and get it from the records department and that sort of thing. And then what you get is going to be specific to their agency codes and all kinds of things, and the amount of material that gets in that report. They understand it because they've all worked there for many years, but it would be harder for us to. And then for us to then try to dissect that and do our own analysis on it would be very challenging, they felt. And they did not, I don't think they felt like they had the time to go through and do that kind of analysis on behalf of us every month.
Well, there would be a cost to it, just like if somebody requests a public records through the town and we have to delve into it, there's a cost associated to that. We would have to pay LCSO if time for those records.
So what there were sort of, and correct me if I'm, please, they were kind of recommending they would have a representative come to our meeting, and then I would recommend we add an element to our agenda every month where we would have Scott be able to get up and talk on behalf of the fire department. He may not have much to offer at any given time, or he may have a lot. Same with the deputy or the lieutenant. I think is going to probably be our representative. He's the second in command up there, and would come, and if he has anything to offer, he would, have his moment on our agenda to stand up and talk to us about that. And they can tell us about trends, things that are going on, and at least keep us informed. And if there was something we felt like we needed to get a little more in-depth information on, we could either do that at the meeting or we could do that individually to try to garner some more information for the committee as a whole, or for us to maybe communicate to council that we're having a problem in a particular area and that we need to pay attention to this. As it relates to community policing, again, that's not really handled specifically out of that division there. It's probably downtown. There's another captain that's in charge of community policing. I mentioned I thought it would be nice for them to come out and give us a presentation of what their community policing program is. I don't know if that's still possible. I know council is talking right now about adding community policing or adding additional officers to the island. And I don't know timing-wise if it would work for us to have them try to come out and do a presentation to this committee about what community policing is. It's fairly expensive to have 2 officers. What they're saying basically is you get 2 officers and 2 patrol cars, and or at least 1 patrol car for them to share. I'm not sure how that works. In any event,
He did say that the 112 number included it was all inclusive.
It was all inclusive. So I think there is and we'll know more, I think, when we get the feedback from our survey we put out. But I think there's an appetite on the part of the people who live here and visit here, have adequate law enforcement protection and to have a feeling of safety and security both day and night. And as these incidents occur sometimes, I think it erodes that confidence. And it would be helpful on a number of levels to be able, for us to be informed about them and maybe even communicate to the public about them. I think the sheriff's office doesn't feel it's really their role to make everyone feel good about things, and maybe we could play a role in that if we are at least briefed on the incident to be able to talk about it publicly, whether that's an incident we should be of great concern to us. For example, an incident could occur on the island that we think, wow, that's a serious crime and it happened here. And that crime could have happened anywhere. These people knew each other. They just the geography happened to be Fort Myers Beach that night when that confrontation occurred. Has nothing to do with the safety and security of Fort Myers Beach. it has to do with that incident was gonna happen, whether it happened here or up on Summerlin or in another part of Fort Myers. It just happened to be the geography of the night. And that'd be helpful to know, because, that can happen in any town. That's not a Fort Myers Beach problem per se, but I think people would feel better if they could understand some of that, so.
I can, again, on that, I think it would be important, whether it be in front of you guys or they come back before council, because they did come once before to try to give a presentation, but something happened during the meeting that pushed things back, and their presentation was very condensed. It was kind of a 10,000-foot view of what community policing is, and there's a lot of questions out there that people are asking of what exactly community policing is. And another question, maybe if you have it off the top of your head, or if you can get it quickly, what we spend, Chelsea, currently for the seasonal police that we pay extra for at the base of the bridge, because that's been a question, and I don't have that number off the top of my head. I don't know if it's easily accessible, if you could provide it today or maybe at the next meeting.
I'll get it for you guys.
That's one of the other questions, is what we're paying now. There seems to be a confusion out there that what we're paying now is what we're talking about when it's community policing. So people don't understand that what the service we're paying for now during season isn't community policing. That is just basically
Policemen.
Project specific.
Exactly. So I think if we can delineate the difference between that, it will help people understand, when you first hear it, 112,000 is a lot of money. And if we're already paying for it, why aren't we getting those services? So I think the more that you guys can explain, or they can explain to you, or they can come before council, however that has to be, so that people get a better understanding of what it is we're talking about, I think that will help ease the sting of what that number sounds like.
So when I send you all the meeting packet and agenda, I also CC the fire department. They will be included moving forward.
Is that okay? I mean, I'm just
No, that's a great
recommending
idea.
that.
Oh, I think it's a great idea.
I mean, right now, at least the fire department has been here pretty consistently, and we don't really even offer them an opportunity to speak unless John happens to remember to ask them. So if they're on the agenda, it would be.
I think it should be at the top of our agenda, so that,
I don't have to sit here the whole time.
yeah.
Like our meetings?
So just in case they have to leave, or,
I agree.
and then we can ask them questions if we have questions, and then they can get on with their day.
Well, see, how do you want to try to make these arrangements to maybe schedule them to come to our meeting and make a presentation?
Yep. So, well, if it is the committee would like, or would like to request some type of presentation, I'll be at the community policing or whatever. If you want something in particular, I need to hear that from from this committee, and I can send that request to them. But like we said,
I think what Councilor Allers said is exactly what we need. Is we need them to come here and tell us what community policing is, what we're going to get for our investment, how those programs work.
Is that the will of the committee?
Does everyone I say yes.
I agree.
Okay. I do know that the community policing, I believe, is supposed to be on an upcoming town council meeting, so I'm not sure if it'll go there before it comes here, whatever. I'll work with the town manager on that, but hearing the will of the committee that they'd like at least a brief presentation on, the ins and outs of community policing, I will make that request to the sheriff's office. But as Mr. Nichols said, and in our conversations with the West District captain, they will make it a point to be present, like the Fort Myers Beach Fire Department does, every meeting, or at least have some designee attend. I do appreciate your comment and their time, so I think putting them at the top of the agenda is prudent. I will make that request to LCSO, and then of course when I send meeting invites to you all, I will also extend that to the sheriff's office.
Perfect.
Everyone's on the same page.
All right. Member items. Jim, do you have anything?
No.
I don't either.
I do.
Yes.
There was feedback about the public safety survey that people were concerned about, who was answering the questions and things like that. And one of the things that this group had decided was it wasn't just about the town residents who were supposed to be asking about safety, because we do get thousands and thousands of residents every day to see if they feel safe while they're here. And what we think is important to us may be completely off the radar of what they're seeing. Is they might have more pedestrian safety issues than we deal with every day because we're not walking the streets every day. But I wanted to address that because that was one of the comments. But the other thing was, I know that when we were given ideas of where to disseminate this survey, which I've seen it obviously on the town website and on her email blast, I was hoping we could get it out to some hotels, and I'm hoping we didn't miss the window because, you know, even though season has ended, we do have a huge influx of visitors still here due to up north being shut down still in certain areas. But I would have really liked to see it, a questionnaire going out, like some kind of QR code in Times Square. Just tell us what you think about the island. You know, did you think, because most of these people are riding bikes, did you feel safe? That kind of thing. So that was my 2 cents on that. I think we did miss part of the package, and it doesn't matter if someone could fill it out from up north or wherever. If this is a survey, you're just taking a glimpse of what the actions are. It's not like we're making rules from it. It's just giving us an idea. Are we off base? And I wish we could add more to it, or more places we could get out. So the more feedback we can get, the better. We might see something that we've never even thought of from visitors. Yeah, I don't even know what it would be. My 2 cents.
Oh, I agree.
For what it's worth, Don, I think it was a very intentional decision on the part of the committee to be inclusive rather than exclusive, and we were looking for feedback from visitors, people who work here every day, as well as people who own property here. I think, well, we may have a policy disagreement with those people that expressed concerns about that. I do think that it's important because safety occurs for everyone, not just the people who own property here.
To that point, we have had 608 responses to date.
It's not bad.
That's quite good.
Yeah. Well, that was, I was hoping we could get more, visitor exposure to get their feedback, and there's something that we didn't even
Yeah, because
think of at all.
it's important that the visitors feel safe when they come here as well as the residents.
Exactly.
Do you have anything, Dan?
No, good, thank you.
In the email I sent you and also in your agenda packet is this public information report for the Public Safety Committee. I believe at the last town council meeting, there was a request of, just how much does our PIO push out regarding Public Safety Committee items or information. So this is a compilation, or this report is put together of all of the posts that our PIO has put out, so you can see and the counts and where, things of that nature. So that was in response to that request. I'm going to reiterate that if this committee has a request for budget items, I need to know that today, please. So.
Anybody have a request for budget items?
Lights or bikes for next year?
Well, we don't even know how successful that program is going to be, but we would be remiss if we weren't thinking in terms of trying to do a more program next year, providing lights and bells.
Audible
At a minimum.
devices.
Don't you? I mean,
Right.
I mean, we're at such a.
If it's very successful and people keep coming in and buying them, then all of a sudden we're like, no, we don't have any because we didn't put it in the budget.
Right.
That's
what I'm thinking.
Well, or if the request is to hand them out free.
right.
Like the
And then
4th of July. Or
yeah,
something.
things like that, or a Public Safety Committee or Public Safety Week, or if this committee, I know like my Anchorage Advisory Committee has a Cruisers Appreciation Day that they always put in requests, but if the Public Safety Committee had a Public Safety Day and partnered with the fire department and the sheriff's office, outreach center, I'm putting it out there that the opportunity is there. I need to know.
Probably should.
Yes.
Put in for
Agree
it.
with Jim.
Yeah.
Is there an amount that is requested?
Yeah. That's hard to, can't estimate that.
Thing for us, so we really don't, that kind of guide us.
Well, I can tell you, I think we've spent maybe they're between $500 and $1,000 on the lights and what will soon be the bells. So if you want to keep with the status quo, we can do that. If you want to increase that, we can do that. There's additional.
Would it be easier for them to, price isn't really known, to work on a unit? How many units you think would be beneficial?
Exactly. And I can back into a number if that's what.
And that's really just one, may want publication, we may want to put
We might want to do a big
So
old
I'm thinking-
cardboard with a QR code in Times Square.
You know,
Right.
I'm just thinking like, well, if there were if there was $2,000 in the budget set aside for all public safety stuff, if we don't use the money, then we don't use the money. If we do use the money, at least it's there. If we don't put it there, we can't use the money. It's not going to be available.
Right.
That's just my thoughts. And budgeting kind of works that way. You just sort of, some idea what you think you might need, and it's kind of like putting the money aside and saving it for that. End up spending it, well, that's fine. Money didn't go away then. I don't know, Dan, I don't know how council would even feel about
I have to give as much detail as I possibly
I'm
can.
sure you
To
do.
the dime, to the penny.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for my colleagues, but I can tell you personally, you know, obviously being here, public safety is a big issue for me. So, you know, the amount of money that you can get, I would be on the side to push for, whether it's 2,000, 5,000, whatever. I mean, whatever the committee feels is the right number that the community needs, I'll be behind you.
I guess I'm sort of relating it to like the condo association, the committee that handles landscaping. They put X amount of money in for flowers, but we don't ask them, well, what flowers are you going to buy? We just say, we know the money's there, and they'll figure out what they're going to use it for. They may not use it all, or they may end up using it all. We just don't know. But if the money's not set aside in the budget, you don't have it. And
I think I have a general sense of what it is you're speaking of. So lights, bells, but potentially advertising.
Advertising or.
So my finance department cringes if they don't get details. So I think I have a sense of what it is you're asking. And I'm comfortable putting those 3 items down. I just, again, the amount, or I can, like council member said, I can back into a number if the unit amount is we want 500 bells and 500 lights, sets of lights, I can back into that too. I just kind of need some guidance.
I agree with Dan. I think, you know, just 500 in it or something.
I think, you know, as you hear from the Lee County Sheriff's Office and from the fire department, what the trends are, what is necessary to use that money on may change.
Exactly.
So to pigeonhole it to one specific item, I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice.
I'm hearing 2,000, I'm hearing 2,500.
2,500 sounds good.
Going once?
Going twice.
All right.
Thank you.
I will put that on the add-on list,
This is our first time of ever trying to do anything like this. Exactly what our needs are.
Yeah, sounds good. I will put that on the budget add-on list, request to town council.
Do we have any more public comment?
Make sure you come to the podium and identify yourself, please.
Cindy Johnson. I'm a resident and I'm a Turtle Time permit holder. So I want to give you my phone number and I can answer any questions you have on how the lights affect the turtles from the beach. So I can help you with that. 630-484-1231. I can also go out at night with you and show you all these things. I wanted to clear up what Roger was saying. The FWC and FDOT work together on requirements for roadways, for areas of wildlife concern. It's been in the Green Book 2020 and in 2021. I can send this to you. If I forward it to Chelsea, maybe she can send it to you. And I'm going to play something in just a minute. It's from Robin Trindell, the head of the imperiled species from the FWC. We asked her to be on the phone call on the Zoom meeting the other day, so you can actually go back into the Zoom meeting. It's more near the end. But I encourage you to watch that whole stakeholder Zoom meeting because it'll help you understand a lot of the issues. I think there's a lot of good discussion about light color, light temperature, and everything else. Those guidelines are the same as what's in your packet, so you're not going to be compromising having an amber light. FWC and FDOT obviously feel the amber lights are safe. There are all kinds of topics covered. In that Zoom meeting, we didn't agree completely with the team, but we have every confidence that this design team can come up with a perfect plan for Fort Myers Beach. So the discussion on that Zoom call is very important for you to listen to. I actually wrote to a dark skies community that uses amber lights to see if they had any issues with public safety. And he wrote back, "Dear Cindy, this is Flagstaff, Arizona. Thank you for reaching out to the Flagstaff Dark Skies Coalition. Flagstaff has been using LPS, low pressure sodium, and now narrow spectrum amber LEDs since 1989. In those 32 years, I have never heard a complaint from law enforcement or first responders about color rendition issues. In my 35 years in light pollution studies and lighting designs, I have never seen documentation of any kind that amber lighting is unsafe. The claim is commonly heard. I have spoken directly to first responders, and they assure me that they absolutely do not depend in any way on the characteristics or even the existence of street lighting or other permanently installed lighting to do their jobs at night. Ambulances, for example, as well as fire trucks, have ample lighting that is mounted to the vehicles that they can use to illuminate areas that they can get their vehicles close to. They also carry portable lights that can be carried further from the vehicles if necessary. These are the lights that they depend on to do critical work, not street lights." So, all right, and now I'm going to play a section of, I'm probably going to run out of the 3 minutes, but Robin Trindell from the meeting.
I have to get to another meeting. This is Dr. Robin Trindell. I am the administrator for FWC's Marine Terminal Management Program. I just wanted to thank the team for a comprehensive presentation on issues that we also feel are important. Because when our staff are asked to review these projects through DOT or other regulatory entities, we're going to balance human safety along with the protection of sea turtles. And you brought up a lot of issues we've heard from many years. Color rendition, we've gone all over the place. Some police officers think it's important. Others say eyewitness testimony is not valuable anyway. So we've heard a lot of it. We've heard first responders say, I want to know what I'm stepping in. Others say, no, I'm not stepping in anything until I get my lights set up. So a lot of good issues that you've brought up. You certainly convinced me that color temperature is not a good indicator for our staff to use when looking at risk to marine turtles. We're going to focus on wavelength. So I do have to say, I was surprised the discussion focused so much on white light. Because my understanding of the current standards that the state regulatory and local government are going to use looking at lights in these locations are you do have to meet the wildlife sensitive requirements for long wavelength. So just a little surprise on my point. On my part, I wasn't at the last meeting, but that's the way these coastal roadways have gone under DOT standards and the local lighting ordinance. There's been some great successes recently with amber lighting going in along State Road A1A in Fort Lauderdale, Pompano Beach, Treasure Island. It might be good examples for your team to look at. I want to suggest a little bit of caution about dual lighting. Our agency's cautiously looking at that, but in very restricted areas. And there's a lot of questions about, now we have these requirements for long wavelength. How do we fit in this dual lighting? And if the long wavelength is safe, why would we create an impression that it's really not safe, you need to have white light. So just a couple comments. Again, I want to thank everybody because I have to jump off to another meeting. And,
Okay. All right, so you can look at that again, you can view that, but really, the Zoom calls, all your input, that's what they're still gathering. Right, Chelsea? They're still gathering. They're doing their best job, and we have every confidence in them. So, thank you.
Thank you. Our next meeting agenda.
We'll keep it the same. We'll just add fire department and LCSO towards the top, probably right after public comment on agenda items, if that's okay with you. And still want to, so can we talk through date and time for next week? Availability for a special meeting? Needs to be Wednesday or Thursday.
Can do Tuesday, that's the only day we'll be gone.
Time are we talking?
I would prefer 9 a.m., but I'm flexible.
I have something scheduled, but I can reschedule. So I could do Tuesday, I guess.
I'll confirm that this meeting room is available and send a confirmation out to the committee by end of close of business today, and I will also be getting the agenda out today with the one single item of the feedback for the lighting consultant. Tuesday, 9 a.m., next Tuesday.
We can bring our surveys with us that day? Okay. We don't have to get them to you by the end of the week then?
We'll talk through it, and then we can, like the council member said, combine those, and if the committee wishes to provide one uniform, input to the lighting consultant, we can do that.
I won't be able to attend, but I'll be watching.
Okay.
Anybody have a motion?
If you want to say anything.
Oh. Do you have anything? Stan. Anyone?
Next time you'll be on the agenda.
Take a motion to adjourn the meeting at 10:28.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah.